Blog Talk Radio.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to TimeToPlay.com's Empower Half Hour. And this is Happy Week, Enjoy Life Week, and it's the best. So if you have anything you want to talk about, being happy today, please feel free to call at 646-200-0848. Join our discussion. It's wonderful to have some of my two favorite, I can't say my favorite, some of my favorite of my Time to Play Professionals team online with us today. I have Rebecca Norrington all the way from California. Good morning, Rebecca.
Woo-hoo. And yes, you can say we're your favorite. Come on, nobody's gonna hear it.
I can't have a favorite. It makes people sad. So everybody's my favorite. And online with me today is also Heidi Kranz, and she is a relationship coach and a life coach on Time to Play. Good morning, Heidi.
Good morning. So great to be here today.
So we're going to have an amazing discussion because the three of us can talk forever, no joke. So our topic today on Happy Week, and please go to timetoplay.com or the enjoylifeproject.org. They feed to the same, but it's easier to remember, Time to Play. Somebody said to me a couple days ago, how is .com a not-for-profit? Well, Fisher-Price owns timetoplay.org, and they don't play happy with me to buy .org, so we have .coms. They want to buy .com, but they won't switch, so that's why. Anyway, so our discussion today is going to stem around reaching our goals, and I know this is, topics very near and dear to all of our hearts, because we all sometimes have goals, but sometimes our goals are maybe we think just too hard or we give up or whatever. And so this is basically our discussion today. And I did actually go to a conference last week, and I did learn about SMART goals, SMART. It's an acronym. It's very, very ding, 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 very simple. So, but we're going to go down some of the bullets that Heidi had provided for us today. And basically, we are focusing on what we could do to unblock the block to our goals. And this is a really wonderful topic. So, Heidi, let's start in our discussion. So what generally blocks us from achieving our goals?
So, kind of in general, there are outer blocks and inner blocks. So outer blocks would be, time, money, materials, those types of constraints. But even if we, work all day on the outer blocks and we can problem solve and we can be creative, there are inner blocks that, prevent us sometimes or many times from accomplishing our goals. So, this morning, I was hoping really that the three of us could talk a lot about those inner blocks and, go into more detail with that.
I tend to agree because we can talk ourselves out of anything. What's your opinion on that, Rebecca?
Well, I don't want to be a fly in the ointment, but I think I'm going to have to be because I have a totally different take on goals and blocks. And quite frankly, I know this is just way out there, but for me, I'm only going to speak for myself and my experience. I know that there are a lot of things that I wanted to get, goals to be on a, own TV show. And I'm not saying that's not going to happen, but what I've discovered is if the universe or if the whatever energy you want to call it, God, the universe disagrees with what I want with my timing, then guess what's going to happen? Who's going to win out? So what I've learned to do is to relax with everything that is unfolding and act on inspiration and act when I'm inspired and know that it's not my plan. It's really not my plan. It's a bigger plan. And so I've had to let go and trust this bigger plan knows exactly what I need when I need it.
And understood. In a brief discussion that Heidi and I were having, and I'm not going into the detail, and I will be sending an article out that was in yesterday's Newsday to our Time to Play team. But the life of despair for people who are not connected to Source, let's say as you are, which we do in our mortal world, create, is what we're really going to focus on today. And, you know, the little tips and tidbits of things that we do post. There's lots of articles on Time to Play. There's like actually over 500 articles regarding happy, healthy, have money, work-life balance, which is the Time to Play philosophy. And, you know, what Rebecca is saying is something that people have to take baby steps and baby steps. Things that, like, I wrote an article 2 weeks ago regarding chakras, which, seriously, I've been kind of hearing about here and there a little bit. It's been a concept around since 1500 BC and probably even before then. And this is stuff that is there and is hidden from us. And what Rebecca's there to do for us is to give us little seeds of information, because it's a huge concept to digest for people who've not heard of, you know, universal energy or, you know, this type of thing. But that's her, I guess, function here, is to give people education seeds so that it might be something that they're ready to explore or be open to explore. But we have to take care of the masses, unfortunately, which are not as enlightened as you. And I know that your days are so happy. This is Enjoy Life Happy Week, because you're not burdened. I've seen the majority of people, especially working in healthcare for 28 years, live with burden and distress. And the limiting beliefs that we impose on ourselves, and Heidi, I want you to kind of go into what your experience has been as being a life coach for how many years?
8 years.
Okay, so you've seen a lot of people with limiting beliefs. And again, there's two pieces here. There's our mortal internal limiting beliefs, and then there's the ability, which, Rebecca, perhaps you can give little seeds piggybacking on what Heidi's speaking on in her experience.
Yeah.
Go
ahead. Did you want me to speak now?
Let's go into the limiting belief. Let's go into the limiting belief that Heidi is, you know, kind of familiar with again. Yeah. And then you just put a little tidbit of something that somebody could consider. So what we're trying to do is how to break through and reach goals and understanding the universal energy. But let's talk about the mortal self and our limiting beliefs, and then just give a seed, so not to freak anybody out, of things for somebody to consider. Because people put into perspective potentially have not even heard of the concept of universal energy. I know The Secret and stuff like that is something that's been much visible in our society, but still people might not have heard about it or whatever. So let's start with what we can physically do with Heidi's experience, and then let's kind of just plant a little seed. Good? Agreed?
Yes, sounds great. And I actually, really believe that both approaches that we're going to discuss today really totally go hand in hand, because I share, I know as you do, many of Rebecca's beliefs about the bigger picture and the bigger plan, and at certain times kind of just, really surrendering to it and going with it intuitively. That being said,
absolutely.
Yes, let's talk about limiting beliefs that can block us so powerfully. What are limiting beliefs? They are sweeping generalizations that we believe about the world. And they are often not even beliefs that we cultivated ourselves. They were cultivated by our parents or our families or where we grew up or, today's culture. So some examples might be, as you know, I do a lot of dating coaching. So a sweeping limiting belief that blocks people from finding that loving partner might be, there are no available or appealing women in this town, or there are no good men in this town. really where in Long Island, in New York, in the universe, where are there no good men or women? That's a glaring sweeping generalization. Other aspects of life, women really can't get jobs like that. So if you're going to operate from that belief, there are no good men or no good women to date, or women can't get jobs like that, then there's no way for you to reach your goal with that limiting belief. So that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Rebecca?
Well, I love what Heidi said, and I like that we're gelling everything together, because it is a coming together of all of it, of the mortal, of the spiritual, like you said, Doreen. And you're right. Everything starts in childhood, and everything just how we learn how to live, how to navigate through this life, and so the journey really starts, in my opinion, is looking in the mirror. Looking in the mirror and realizing that you internally have all of your answers to all of your solutions. I teach a class, The Importance of Happiness, and I call the masses, Doreen, I call them civilians. So I know exactly what you're talking about. There are types of people that are in tune to just a bigger perspective. And one woman in the class is very sad, just very sad. Her husband committed suicide, and she doesn't find any joy in life. And so it's really about the individual taking charge and taking control and doing something about shifting and changing. And so her homework assignment is to actually sing every day. She loves singing, and dance every day, and find something to laugh at. And so I said, go on YouTube and top 10 funniest. So it is about the individual taking charge and doing something to shift those beliefs and those perspectives that are so deep. It's really an unlearning of everything that we learned.
It is, and this is just to give people some little seeds where they may be interested to go to Time to Play. What you're talking about was what Heidi and I were just talking about. Unfortunately, there's a statistic that shows, and I wasn't going here at all today because this is Enjoy Life Week, but there is a statistic that shows that white men, I believe it was ages 35 to 45. I'm going to email everybody in our Time to Play team and on our foundation board. The article was in our newsday yesterday regarding that population is increasing in suicide in our society overall, which is disturbing. What we do learn in childhood is setting us up for beliefs in our lifetime, and that is the intention behind the Pre-Invent Your Life program. It is a trademark program of the Time to Play Foundation to pre-invent, and there's so much to it. There is an article about it. The survey is posted. If you go to Pre-Invent Your Life, you'll be able to access that information. This is something I actually worked on for over 3 years and researched, and it's just an incredible finding. Happiness internally is probably the key to everything in our entire being. And what we're speaking of here is this limiting belief that potentially starts from our earliest memories and continues with us and evolves into potential despair versus our ability to, quote-unquote, pre-invent. And I actually started writing an article this morning. I don't believe anybody intends to live in despair. And a limiting belief will cause that feeling of despair. So here we want to break through this despair. So let's move to the next thing about assumptions. And we were briefly talking about that, I guess, with the examples that Heidi gave. But let's kind of delve into that a little bit more. Heidi?
Oh, yes.
That's for you.
I didn't want to interrupt you. Sorry, dear. Did you want to
No, I rambled. You know that by now, for goodness sakes.
did you want to talk more about limiting beliefs, or kind of go into another type of block that commonly occurs?
I want to kind of evolve into the assumptions a little bit more. I mean,
Yes.
you touched on it, so because we don't know everything. So, good.
So while all these blocks are similar to each other, there are nuanced differences, and the more we can understand it, the more empowered we are to kind of challenge the blocks that we're facing. So assumptions are the kind of block where, because something happened in the past, you anticipate that it's going to happen again. So again, with the dating example, I asked someone out last month, and they said no. So I'm assuming if I ask somebody else to go out, they're going to say no as well. So that's kind of a simple, simply put, how assumptions can get in our way. I went on a job interview and I was rejected. So my assumption is that I'm going to be rejected on the next job interview as well. And as you can hear, this can completely block us from our goals, from even trying, and it can be very discouraging. So while the limiting belief is kind of like a sweeping generalization belief about the world, the assumption is this happened to me, and so I'm anticipating it's going to happen again.
And let's try that in with Rebecca's thought processes there, because what is that negative energy that we're putting out, and how does that affect us, Rebecca?
Wee. This is perfect. This is perfect. Because I wrote an article about how to eliminate all heartbreak and disappointments forever. I love this radio show because we're really about solutions. How do you eliminate all heartbreak and disappointment in your life forever? And it's a very simple answer, and it's true, but it's very difficult to practice. But this life is about practicing these different skills. And how do you do that? Is eliminate all expectations of people, of the next moment. Having expectations in your life about anyone or anything is a real it's a disaster waiting to happen. So really not attaching to the next moment and living every moment in the present without any expectations. And you'll never be disappointed, and you'll never have a heartbreak again.
Absolutely. And what you're saying is kind of valid, because if you're expecting to not get that job,
kind of valid,
right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. If you're putting this, like what Heidi said, I'm not going to get this job. You're expecting. So what you expect is putting out the energy of what you're expecting, and you're going to make that happen. We don't know what's happening in any extra moments of our time except at this very second. So I actually, and Heidi and I have talked about this before, and we actually have a thing called, I made a stop sign for people. And the biggest and most exciting thing that I could say during my life journey that I have recognized is when I have a behavior, and that's the key, is to recognize it. If I have something going on in my mind, heart, thoughts that are not making me feel good, and we can kind of, expand on this a little bit. But the key is to stop for a moment and evaluate that and potentially change our thinking pattern at that moment. So the expectation pattern, my day is going to be terrible. Because, oh my gosh, let's talk about that for a second. We woke up late. We dropped our coffee cup. We can't find our keys. We get in the car. Now we have traffic because we have a little black cloud over us that moment because of why. Rebecca, you start that one. But why is that black cloud there?
Well, we have a black. I would have a black cloud over that because I'm making a judgment of what's going on as either good or bad. That's another thing that really subtracts from happiness. And if you want to talk about happiness, is having labels about, I dropped my coffee cup, so now that's bad. That's a label, and all labels are just judgments, and all judgments subtract from happiness. So it doesn't. What really, we don't suffer because of what happens. We suffer because of our thoughts about what happens. Our thoughts dictate how we're feeling. And so if you say, that's a bad thing, I lose my wallet, that's a bad thing, car accident, that's a bad thing, then of course we're going to go on and have a bad day. But when you let go of the label good and bad, all labels, quite frankly, then it's just the experience without the judgments. So a practice is to get rid of labels. Another practice is to not have expectations.
I appreciate that. So, and Heidi, yes, we're off track, but I'm thinking we're gonna
absolutely, yes.
But we're gonna, I think, continue this discussion next Happy Month. Next the first Wednesday of December. So we're gonna do part 2 of this exact topic of breakthrough and reach your goals. But I want to continue to expand on these topics because, you know what, it does really warrant more than the half an hour in order to accomplish really delving into this. So, Heidi, let's continue this discussion about this creation and this assumption because this is really important. And this is how I've seen and listened to a lot of people in their day. So when a thing happens, and again with Rebecca's thoughts of good or bad, this is how we judge it. I mean, oh my gosh, I teach a diabetes prevention class, and there's always the bad food. Oh, I ate bad this day. Oh, I'm going to never, right? So this is our assumptions. This is our empowerment of ourselves, whether we're going to succeed or we're going to create an environment where we can't. So, Heidi, kind of go into that a little bit more because that's one of the things as a life coach, you redirect a person in order to problem solve out of that mindset.
Absolutely. And, I think that at the core is really, Doreen, your stop sign, because that pause is all important. If we can pause and we can say to ourselves, what am I doing right now? What's blocking me from going forward and doing what I want to do in this next moment? Oh, you know what? It sounds like I'm doing one of those assumptions. I'm assuming that just because this happened to me yesterday or last year or even 10 times before, that it's going to happen to me again. And I need to challenge my thinking. So if we don't challenge our thinking, we're not going to create change. We need to always be challenging our own thinking. And the way that we can do it is in that moment of pause, if we can allow ourselves to think it through instead of kind of robotically doing what we've always done. So that in itself
it's so important.
Let me say, Heidi, what you said is just really, really important, and that is the beginning of change. Doreen, you started on it, and Heidi just elaborated. It's all about becoming and being self-aware and living consciously in every moment, and not, like you said, being a robot and just doing and just being conditioned, but it's really about stopping and learning and practicing to be self-aware. It's really important. It's the first step.
Yeah. Absolutely. So I want to emphasize that where we did write a book about a year and a half ago. It's called If I Knew Then What I Know Now. And this is things that we did talk about in the book. Again, what is the goal really is for, all right, let me go a little bit broader. In our universe, in our people, there have been people who have come before us that have said amazing things. and we don't stop and learn from that. And this is part of the Pre-Invent Your Life concept. There's so much information out there, but stuff that we, in our lifetimes, I'll be 50 this year in December, in our lifetimes, the things that we have learned that we can pass to the people who are coming and say, hey, if I knew then what I know now, and this wisdom to redirect ourselves, to stop a moment and pause, to not be so impulsive, to adopt a self-destructive behavior that totally takes us out of quality of life, or worse, as we've briefly spoken on. So we all are uber powerful and brilliant people. We all have this power within, which Rebecca has tapped into and Heidi has tapped into, and I'm still working on it. But we are so powerful, and we know what's right if we take a moment to stop and listen and be in this moment and make the choice to bring us forward, because we can do anything. So let's expand on that power a little bit and that awareness a little bit more. Who wants to comment?
Go ahead, Rebecca, please.
Oh, I was just going to say that it's something to learn, and it's something to recognize that we are extensions. I'm going to throw this out. We are extensions of the universe. We are conscious beings, and in every moment we're making choices, and that is really powerful. You can make a choice to shift your life in an instant, in a second, and really it's not about what you do. It's about your perspective. Like I said earlier about bad day. Well, it's your perspective about a day, and the choices that you make, and you can change. You can have, but it's about practicing changing your perspective, looking at the same situation. In other words, nothing in your life has to change, but if your perspective changes, then your life changes in an instant. I
love that. That's
absolutely
brilliant. Perspective will be the word of the day. Heidi, you want to sum up, because we're pretty much at the end of our 30 minutes, believe it or not, as fast as it goes every week. So.
Yeah, sure. And so much more to say, but so many great key concepts here. And just, a sum up thought about assumptions. Just because we've tried to create change in our life in the past and maybe it has not been as effective or successful as we had hoped, there's no reason to assume that if we try to create changes today and tomorrow that they won't be successful and effective changes. So we really don't want to give into that assumption. We want to, as you said, believe in our power that today can be different than yesterday, and yesterday is no indication of what we're capable of and what we can do. So thank you so much for having me today. It was really a great pleasure and very exciting.
No, I really appreciate it, guys. And, certainly what you just said is a perfect example of the Time to Play project in general. It's been time that I've been working on this relentlessly and keeping going, and, little steps, 1 step forward, 10 steps backwards, a half a step forward, 200 steps backwards. But the concepts and the vision behind this is something that has to move forward, and we do. Our team has the ability to make this bigger than Rebecca, bigger than bigger our own. We don't need Oprah. We got it ourselves. Oprah is just a people just like the rest of us.
That's right.
And we are blessed to have found each other. As there's a reason, and we just need those little teeny tiny little more forward steps. And that goal I set out some years ago to reach 1 million people, just to plant a seed and empower people to move forward in life and not live that life of despair. There's no reason. Too many people do it for too many years if they ever even wake up before end of life. And it's just the biggest heartache that I have, seeing what I've seen for 28 years. There's no reason. We are so powerful. And with that, everybody can reach Heidi and Rebecca. Their information is on the Time to Play website, so go to timetoplay.com. I can have you guys give contact information out as well if you want. Rebecca, I'd like you to post that article you were speaking of, if you can, on the Time to Play project, and we will promote that as well. And Heidi just wrote a new article, also posted. Heidi, you want to just mention the title?
Sure. Okay. It's slipping out of my mind.
Well, it's regarding relationships. Go ahead.
My contact information as I retrieve that information.
Okay.
I am at reinventionlifecoaching.com, and feel free to contact me on Time to Play or directly through my website. I'm happy to answer all questions. The article is in love with being in love, and it talks a lot about the question of, are you in love with being in love, or are you specifically falling in love with another human being for their specific qualities? So check it out, and thanks again.
Absolutely. And Rebecca?
You can find me on Time to Play as Happiness Professional, and I'm going to have to double check, Doreen, but that article is how to eliminate disappointment and heartbreak. I believe I posted it on Time to Play, but I'll make sure today if I did.
Okay,
and
great.
You can find me on at my website, RebeccaNorrington.com. Twitter, follow me on Twitter at RL Norrington. But I really thank you so much for giving me the opportunity and sharing. And thank you both ladies for assisting me with expanding the message that we are powerful. And even the challenging times have a reason and give us a possibility for growth.
Absolutely, and that's the biggest thing, is we do have to listen. So if something is that challenging, we might have to shift what we're working towards, and I've started to do that myself. We're not here to fight, and that's more that we're going to talk about next month. So December 2 is the first Wednesday of the month. That is Happy Week. So please join us at 9:30 on December 2 for our Happy Week. And the Time to Play's Empower Half Hour is made possible by the Time to Play Foundation, a 501c3 not-for-profit corporation with the mission and purpose to enrich the lives of others through programs, public awareness outreach activities, events, and learning opportunities that further the concept of enjoying life. And thank you guys so much for being with me this week, and have a wonderful week. Any questions, please give us a call at 631-331-2675 or email info@timetoplay.com, and we'd love to hear from you. Thank you. Have a great week.